Okay, here we are, back again. And, this is the current state of the Dumas Lockheed Air Express. Infill work is progressing. You see the first area, the first cell, what I call a cell, is the space between the first two bulkheads is now completely infilled. See that all the way around. Cell number 1, cell 2, cell 3, cell 4, cell 5, cell number 6, and cell number 7 as we go down the line, yet to be fully infilled. We've got a coat of a kind of a medium to dark gray down on the floor of both the cabin and the cockpit. And just went with kind of a, I don't know, nondescript gray. Again, there aren't a whole lot of photographs, especially not in color, of the interior of this airplane. And once again, we are doing the Gilmore Air Express, flown by Roscoe Turner in the 30s. This is the progress we have on our engine. We have a pedestal mounted to the back. It's just a disc of balsa wood. It's meant to function as a standoff. So there's a little bit of a space between the motor and the front of the fuselage, the firewall. And that'll be wrapped with a coil of solder made to look like the air intake line. And it just sticks out between, let's see if we go this way, mounts on the back here. Sticks out there, roughly there. There we go. And as we look at the front of our engine, we can see the intake, and then it wraps around our pedestal. And it'll be fed by Fleming lines from the back of the cylinder, feeding downward and onto the top of this. I'll cut them in such a way that they conform to and appear to be at one with the intake line. And also from the opposite of each of the two cylinder heads, what have you, the intake side and then the exhaust side will have an exhaust line. And those will feed into the firewall, and with the main exhaust port down here near the bottom. And then the cowling will slip over that just a bit so that it's actually appears to be protruding from the bottom of the cowling towards the back of it. And that's a lot to take in, but anyway, that's the current state of our build. As we continue to do infill on the fuselage and detail the engine, I'm thinking our plug wire is going to be red, since I have red plug wire to use. I could change my mind and wire it before painting and then just paint it so that it'll be black wiring. That's still a possibility. I haven't really decided on it. But since this airplane is overall white with red trim, I thought red plug wires might, I don't know, it might be too much, you know, like red shoelaces or something, a little overkill. Might not do that, but it's being batted around in my cavernous noggin. So anyway, you can see how the infill is going along, coming along, getting along. Not much else to report at this stage of the process. It's just about the infill, and that's just a time-consuming, repetitious thing. There isn't a whole lot to show as that's going. Although I suppose I could describe what I do once again. So for each, I don't fill individual openings. I try to do strips. And in this case, we were doing 2 bulkhead strips or 2 cell strips. In other words, we're going to cover from here, here to here. So what I would do is just line this up with the one of the stringers, mark it off at the other stringer there and at the back, which creates something that looks like a strip, longer than this. Figure a strip like this, but the full length of our piece. And that strip would fit between these two stringers in both openings. And then we just cut the individual pieces off of that strip to do our infill. And this way, we kind of save a little bit of time. Sometimes I can do longer strips, 3 cells long. We cut this a little bit longer. And it all depends on what the shape of these are. Like for instance, we did a lot of individual work around the front because they were tapered at the front, and the shape of them didn't lend itself to doing long sections. Shorter sections were called for when you have a lot of tapering. When you have a lot of parallel lines or just a steady taper from front to back, you can do longer pieces, if that makes sense. So it's all, but you typically aren't going to do just one opening at a time. You're not just going to be thinking about, I'll just cut this one piece out of here and do that, and then I'll take the remainder and try to fit it somewhere else. That doesn't work. Anyway, that's a bit of insight to the process. As you can see, the nose block is oversized, has not been sanded to shape yet, as the tail block is in the same condition, just rough. Once all the infill is done, we'll do one rough sanding pass to get everything kind of smooth and get the nose and tail conformed to the proper profile. Once that's done, we'll start using filler, spackle, and go to work to really get this thing shaped. And what we want to achieve is that nice smooth kind of torpedo shape that the aircraft was known for. Make it as smooth as glass, and that'll require several applications, several steps. So we won't be covering all of that. We'll just be doing progress reports here as we build the airplane up. All right.